and it was reported that no one budged when a bomb squad safely detonated the device during a Beethoven quartet. I had Hess's concerts in mind when I sent out the email. Because of COVID-19, the walks would be consumed in solitude, not collectively like her concerts, but they would also aspire to be a form of therapy and consolation. And I had something else in mind as well. Years ago, I published a book called Portraits, which evolved from a series of interviews I conceived for the New York Times, in that case with artists. The original concept had been to peruse the collections of the Metropolitan Museum, Rashomon-like, through different artists' eyes, so as to demonstrate, among other things, that there is no single correct way to look at art. New York City, I realized as the pandemic arrived, could be the subject of a similar but broader project, one that carried an added dose of distraction, and not just for readers. The walks would become my own way of coping with those first months of the pandemic. I was fortunate and grateful that my situation was not as dire as that of so many millions of others. But I was fearful and felt, like many people, suddenly untethered. I still had a job, but I couldn't do it as I had before. My work would need to be reimagined. The pause laid bare a city whose layers and nuances were often obscured by the maelstrom of daily routines. The pandemic opened a window through which to see New York, if only briefly, in a new light. Like all crises, it presented an opportunity. Composing a series of walks, quite apart from the privilege of collaborating with interesting people, felt therapeutic, and at least a little useful. The walks were intended not only to capture a precarious, historic moment when New Yorkers found strength in their shared neighborhoods and one another. They were also supposed to show that the city was not going anywhere, that New York, although its institutions were shaken, rested on strong foundations and was surviving COVID-19 as it had weathered countless earlier crises. Talking heads had lost no time leaning into all the doom and gloom, focusing on the rich people fleeing town for second houses, conjecturing about the death of big cities. There was speculation about the ill effects of urban density and the prospect that no one, unless forced to do so, would ever again ride the subway or eat in a restaurant or go to a movie theater. Alarmist theories magnified by social media. After 9/11, experts had also forecast the end of the skyscraper because, they said, no one would want to live or work in a tall building, much less pay to build one. What followed was the biggest construction boom in skyscraper history. To me, it wasn't clear during those early days of the pandemic what was happening from 1 hour to the next, much less the long-term impact of a still evolving disease. I avoided prognosticating. But I suspected, no matter what misery was coming, that the city would endure and even prosper. That's how New York had worked before. Premonitions of its resilience arrived each evening when the silence of the empty streets was broken, not by wailing sirens, but by cheering, clapping, the honking of cars, and the banging of pots and pans. New Yorkers, like others around the world, flung open windows and stuck out their heads at 7 p.m. to mark the hour when frontline health workers changed shifts. The cheering, banging, and honking was a way of saying thank you, but also a chance for neighbors to spy one another across the street and realize they weren't alone. Which is the essence of city life, after all, the heart of the urban compact. No matter how much time we spend isolated in our homes or our thoughts, a city is a collective undertaking, a shared responsibility, sacrifice, and accomplishment. Togetherness is the fundamental civic building block, the basis for a deliberative cosmopolis. Truly cosmopolitan cities welcome different peoples and cultures. In philosophy, cosmopolitanism goes back to Diogenes and the Greek Stoics. The philosopher Immanuel Kant associated cosmopolitanism with hospitality and a common understanding that human beings are members of a universal community with a shared right of humanity. By this definition, New York City just might be humanity's greatest achievement. I suppose that's the abiding thought in this book. It's about the glory of the city.
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.